This is the Tan Talk Radio Network.
Time now for the nationally syndicated radio show, The World of Laurie Zoock. And now, here she is, the smart, the sexy, the savvy, divine Miss C.
And welcome to the show. Got a great show lined up for you today. I've got with me in studio James Carner from Central Payment Processing. He does merchant services, and we're going to be talking today about networking and customer service in the first half of the show. And we actually met James through networking, so let me say thank you for coming in today.
Thank you. Pleasure's mine, and I wanted to thank Ms. C for having me here.
Very welcome. Let's talk actually about how we first met, because it was through networking.
It was. As a matter of fact, we met through a mutual friend of ours, Kirby and Albert from Sharpline Investigations here in New Tampa area. It was a great introduction. They introduced me to you. They thought it would be a great networking and business fit, and it's been a whirlwind ever since.
It's been great. And we have a lot of connections. I think we're a lot alike in that we both really enjoy networking. Not only do you get business that way, but you make a lot of friends that way too, right?
Not only do I build a book of business, but along the way, what I've noticed in the last 4+ years of doing merchant services, I have built great relationships with my clients. They're not just a number. They're actually friends. I have an open door policy. My phone lines are open 24/7. You need me, give me a call.
And I think that's great. That's very important. Well, as with any customer-based business, it's important to network, and you want to build that book of business. So let's talk about some of the tips and tricks that can accomplish networking.
Well, it's being able to sell yourself and have confidence in your product and services, Laurie. If you don't, why would anyone else want to buy into it? Knowing your demographic and market is very important, so your offerings are tailored to those who benefit from them. I believe in being approachable and friendly. Remember to breathe, and that nobody likes that overbearing, in-your-face approach. I know I don't.
Right.
And make sure you're able to concisely present yourself and what you can provide in 30 seconds or less, that elevator speech, so to speak.
Right, yep.
And I know it should go without saying, but make sure you're well supplied with business cards and other pertinent literature. You don't want to be unprepared.
All right. Well, let's talk about that, because people are unprepared. And a little tip I have is I actually carry business cards in my car, because sometimes as a woman I change purses, and there's nothing worse than not having a business card. At least if I had to, I can run back out to my vehicle and get it. And a funny story on that for networking is, I drive an electric blue Nissan Juke, right?
Yep.
Love that car. And so people stop me because the car is a funky looking car. It's that hot blue.
Yep.
And people stop me in parking lots and go, "Oh, how do you like your car? I'm thinking about getting it." So you know what I do? I carry my salesman's business cards in my car, so when they stop, I can actually hand out his card.
I am the same way, and obviously in this technology era that we're in, I keep all my contacts on my phone. I live by my phone. It has my emails, my contact information, their phone numbers. So if it's anybody that I can put in contact with their needs, I'm right there on top of it.
Right. Now, social media, a big thing, because, we both have Facebook pages and we're now connected that way.
Yep.
And it's funny, I'm kind of picky. Like if I have clients, usually they have to have completed, in my case, the process before I allow them, because it's my personal page. I have business pages for the radio show or for my business. Mm-hmm. But one thing I do find convenient is, did you ever find when your cell phone maybe drops a contact or loses a contact, if they're on your Facebook page, it's really simple to go in and just send that message, right? And then you can connect with people that way.
Yep.
So I find it really handy. How do you use social media?
I'll be quite honest with you. I've been very skeptic on the social media growing up throughout my years of experience, until a good friend of mine, my wife, thought it would be a great tool for me to utilize in my endeavors here. Social media, I started Facebook, I think it was roughly 7 months ago.
Wow.
And
okay.
It has been a great asset and tool to my bullets, so to speak.
Right.
To my arsenal. It's been wonderful. I promote my clients' businesses. I promote my business. I try to keep it very professional. I try not to keep too much personal things on there because obviously I want to keep it strictly for business. And it helps my clients that are out there how to get a hold of them, contact, so on and so forth.
Right.
It's just been great.
I know. I see you post all the time. Every time you have a new client, it's like, here's James with his new client. I'm like, oh, cool. Let me hit like.
I will do anything. I will bend over. I go that extra mile for the client, and that's just another way that separates me from my competitors that are out there. I'll do anything and everything I possibly can.
Right. You always return calls, and I think that's a big thing, too.
I'm definitely
in networking.
I am on top of my calls. Follow-up is the key to success. I don't care what it is. Once you establish yourself with a business that have them provide, I have them provide testimonials. This is a key for me, as I can tell you all the wonderful things about Central Payment and how we have the lowest rates, amazing customer service, and the newest technology and the latest and greatest out there. But if you can't read it for yourself from a third-party review via Facebook, LinkedIn, or other social media sites, it really increases the validity of what I'm saying that's out there.
Right. Well, people post, I think, on like Manta and Yelp or Google reviews, and people don't realize how important that is because it actually gets you up in the rankings in the search engine optimization when they post on that. Mm-hmm. So, I know for some businesses, they'll ask their clients, can you post something for me because it gives you that visibility.
It's funny you say that. And it's almost like a full-time job with social media. So I try not to spread myself too thin out there. I have Facebook. I have my LinkedIn account, obviously my emails, phone, so on and so forth. I've been skeptic on going out even further, but those are avenues I'm sure I'll entertain in the future.
Right. Now, LinkedIn I find it handy. It's different than Facebook is more social. LinkedIn is more professional.
Yes.
So it's interesting when I read it because I post often on LinkedIn about the radio show.
Oh, I see it.
Yeah, and I know I try to do it almost every day. I don't always get to do that.
Right.
But I find that I get a tremendous amount of views for the show from doing that more so than I do with my credit business, believe it or not. But here's sort of maybe. I don't know how to explain it. When I looked at LinkedIn and I see what people post in their news feed, compared to Facebook, it's dull.
It is.
Most people are just posting stuff that I go, let's be exciting, people. Make me want to read.
Exactly. You have
what's
to be able
on
to
there.
You have to be able to capture that audience. That's for sure. And there's a few other bullet points I wanted to touch base with.
Sure. Such
interactions can lead to referrals from existing customers, your family, your friends. Join professional groups like a BNI, the Rotaries, the Chamber of Commerce, to plug into an environment rich with networking opportunities and other great tips that are out there. But also remember, you only get out what you do put into it. Don't be afraid to attend events and really participate in the community. I find that it's a great tool and asset, and you build great relationships in your community.
Right, and that's important. And the more people you know, the more word gets around. And, I think a lot of people maybe are intimidated, though, when it comes to, like, chambers or network meetings. If you're not an outgoing sales background type of person like we are, it might be more intimidating to somebody who just doesn't feel as comfortable. And in that case, I would think, well, try to buddy up with somebody or bring a friend so that you can kind of get in the groove of how it works.
It's funny you bring that up. I just came from my ambassador meeting with the Wesley Chapel Chamber of Commerce. A great bunch of people, great colleagues and friends that I've obtained throughout my time there. And it's funny, we just had this conversation about new members coming in very shy, so to speak, and that's what our ambassadorship at the Wesley Chapel Chamber is all about. It's about welcoming the new businesses to our community, welcoming into the chamber, finding out what their wants, their interests, their needs are, and that is part of our protocol with the ambassadorship.
Right, and making them feel comfortable. Now, in a lot of these network meetings, because I've attended some myself, they pretty much have a format. Can you maybe give a description of a format at one of the network? When you go in, everybody introduces themselves. They do the elevator speech.
Correct.
How does it work for someone who hasn't done it?
I'll give you a quick 30-second elevator speech. Hi, my name's James Carner. I'm with Central Payment. I'm an ambassador to the Wesley Chapel Chamber of Commerce. Welcome. What can we do for you? And things of that nature, as far as welcoming them into the networking community, so to speak. We just try to make them as comfortable as possible, set their mind at ease, try to bring them out of their shell, so to speak. So there's a wide variety of ways.
Right. Well, I think that's a good answer. Now, one of the things, too, that you can do is increase interactions by introducing your connections to each other. And let me tell you why I like that. I'm going to share a quick story with you. And Jeff was over here. I know he's going to smile because I told him this story this morning. But I have a family member and this is not even business related, but this is how connections work. So I have a family member who, through another family member, actually met someone at a family function, and now they are together as a couple, and it was all because it went the long way. And so the odds of the connection, I look and I go, are about like 1,000,000 to 1. So this weekend, what we're actually doing is getting together a bunch of family members and friends at Grill Smith this coming Saturday night, because what I want to do is take my family that I'm close to and some of my friends that I'm close to and mix them up, because there are some connections that could be made business-wise there.
Very beneficial.
However, right, but it's a more casual thing than, say, going to a chamber of commerce or going to, everybody's going there for dinner and just to meet. Although I am thinking of making everybody wear name tags, so that they'll all know who each. But it's now up to about 14 people. But I'm thinking, hey, maybe we should play musical chairs and have like all the women switch around one every 15 minutes, which of course will make us look crazy in the restaurant. But it's like musical chairs.
It's
for
almost
connections.
like speed networking.
Yes. Yeah. Exactly. Well, what other thoughts do you have on networking?
I engage others by asking, what they do, and that's an easy conversation starter with most people. Make sure to follow up and follow through with these people, whether it's attending events and responding to referrals, time and effort. It does pay off, and I can promise you that. In the end, connections become friends and integrate you and your business for a long, prosperous future. And I tell you what, I like helping people. I love going that extra mile for them. If I can see that I know this one contact can benefit from another's services, I automatically, boom, pop them, give them their information, have them get, whether it's via email, phone, have them connect. Any way, shape, form. It doesn't matter how it is. As long as I can get it done, I try to do my best.
Excellent. Well, I think you're great at networking, so I don't want you to go anywhere in Radio Land. Hang in with us, because we're going to come back with James Carner, and we're going to talk about customer service, which is after the networking part.
Do you suffer from back, neck, or body pain? Do you suffer from migraines or have jaw or face pain? Has conventional medicine failed you? Were you injured or in an accident? Call chiropractic physician Dr. Dan Maddock at 813-935-1664. Dr. Dan has helped thousands of patients gain relief for more than 30 years. Dr. Dan is caring, gentle, and takes his time with each patient. He's also a past president of the International Craniopathic Society, a special certification of only 300 chiropractors worldwide. Dr. Dan helps patients from the neck up and the neck down. Dr. Dan accepts most insurance plans. Don't continue to live in pain. Call 813-935-1664 today. That's 813-935-1664, and get on track to better health.
Central Payment, your #1 credit card merchant service provider in the industry. Providing e-commerce solutions, POS systems, standalone terminals, mobile apps, and much more. Call Central Payments James Carner at 813-777-4332. Looking for the lowest rates in the industry and #1 customer service? Call Central Payments James Carner at 813-777-4332. That's James Carner, 813-777-4332.
Do you miss that old school sound that made radio great? Let me invite you to preview Philharmonic's Jack of All Trades at PhilharmonicBlues.com, a collection of Americana blues available as a download for $7.99. You can sample each track on the album page and try before you buy. Philharmonic, Jack of All Trades at PhilharmonicBlues.com. That's PhilharmonicBlues.com.
Early in the evening, right on through the morning dew.
And welcome back to the world of Laurie Zoock. I'm enjoying my time here with James Carner from Central Payment Processing, and we just talked a lot about networking, James, but I want to talk now about customer service, because if you're a great customer service person, I think it kind of comes naturally, but there are some people who are just not cut out for customer service, and when you call a big company and you just want to scream because you can't get anything accomplished. So let's talk. Give me some tips.
I find that first and foremost, it's often the overlooked ability to patiently listen to what my customers are really saying. And yes, it is important to be able to anticipate what they want and what their wants and needs are. But however, making sure that I figure out what the real issues are for that client and allows me to address and remedy the issues that they have. When speaking with clients or anyone for that matter, I make it a point for treating them as I would want to be treated. This means being able to, diffuse frustrated and irate customers that are out there.
It's the golden rule. Put yourself in their shoes.
I'm old school. My dad said, do what you say and say what you mean. Follow up. Follow up is the key, whether they're irate or not. Address the issue. They respect you more. You're not blowing them off, sending them to voicemails, things of that nature.
What I find frustrating is when you call a company and they put you through voicemail hell. And so you press one prompt to another prompt, and there are 20 million prompts, and then there's not even the answer to the category you want. When I think, geez, I should have just pressed 0. But some companies you press 0 and you can't get anybody.
It is the most frustrating experience that anyone will ever. When in this age did we become,
all technology and not
technology
human?
and human interaction to take care of it, just to, I guess what I'm looking for the word is it empathize with the customer.
Yes,
I truly feel the customer's pain out there, so I take a different approach. My dad told me a long time ago, you take care of the customer, they'll take care of you.
Right.
And I've tried to live by that golden rule: do what you say what you mean. I find the best way to do this is to calmly address the item by item and any issues that they have. For me to be successful, it's important that I know my products and services, so I'm definitely aware of all the options and solutions that I can offer these clients. I like to be able to say, what I can do for people, focus on the negatives, or, what can be done will only further disenfranchise them.
Right. And I look at someone who's a representative of a company, whether you own the company or you work for the company,
Yep.
you are the company's
I'm the face. Yep.
And right. So when someone's talking to you, they want help, you should have the authority to be able to help them. Now, a lot of companies, they don't give the lower level people the authority, and then you play that game of, well, let me talk to a supervisor, and then the next supervisor, and by the time you get off, it's 2 hours later, and no one's helped you. And by the way, they don't have direct extensions, because I tend to document calls when I have a problem because I know how it works. And so if, a lot of times on these customer service lines, they're recording you, they say, for quality assurance and training purposes, but no, really, it is for legal purposes to see what you're saying on that recording a lot. They might be using it for training, but they're also using it for legal purposes.
Well, I know there's a law in the state of Florida that they must be aware that they're being recorded.
They have to announce it.
They have to announce it just for legal reasons. But I'm glad you brought that point up, because my wife and I were talking about this last night. I found a lot of loopholes and ways to get around all that. I like to take ownership of the issues and, as my wife says, make opportunities out of obstacles. That's our famous line inside the house. I've always provide quick response times, but it's customer calls, texts, or emails. I try to do my best to offer instant interaction, since we all know how annoying the automated systems are. It's frustrating services tend to be. I'm going to give you guys an example of how I address any issues that my clients have. Let's say a client has a technical issue with their equipment. I automatically have my clients call me first. I don't have them call customer service or tech support. The reason being is I want to be in control of the conversation. So what I do is I do a 3-way conference call. I put them on hold. I contact customer service or tech support. I get them on the line. I do a 3-way conference call. Then I let the customer speak to the representative at my firm. I sit in the background on mute to make sure it's not a he said, she said. My customer gets their issue addressed immediately.
That's important.
That way,
right.
Most definitely, I like to have that control, because that way it's another way I go above and beyond of the call of duty, so to speak, for my customers. Now, as empowered as I am by my company, there are things that arise that fall out of my expertise. And this is when I turn to my amazing support staff, because nobody likes to feel like they're being dumped off on somebody else.
Right.
I like to take that extra minute to personally connect them to someone that can resolve those issues, like I just spoke of. And it's these little things that really put the service in customer service.
And people want that nowadays, and it seems to just be lacking to me with so many larger companies, which is maybe why smaller companies are finding it actually easier to compete. Because in all honesty, I would rather pay more for a service and have the great customer service than go to a large company which is less expensive, and then every time I have a problem want to pull my hair out because I'm hours on the phone. And people don't realize that. You can compare apples to apples, but sometimes it's apples to oranges. And I would rather have the good customer service.
It's funny you bring that up. On my social page, Facebook, you can check me out at James Carner on Facebook and see what my clients are saying about me. I have testimonials that are being plugged into my Facebook daily on who I am, what separates me from my competition. And the majority of my clients, I'd say about 95% of them, all speak about my customer service. And they wouldn't mind paying that extra buck, but I try to save them as much as possible.
Right, but I think part of it with you is they like you.
Yeah,
and so
I hope so.
They like you, but also you like your job and you like what you do.
I love what I do.
Right, and if you are a salesperson who doesn't love what they do, then you're not going to want to take care of the customers or do anything. You're just doing it for a buck. Whereas when I look at you and I see on Facebook, you're always happy and smiling. All these customers are posting their pictures with you, and that speaks volumes about you as a person.
Yeah,
and I think that's a difference.
And I appreciate that. Thank you very much, guys. And I've worked hard on my reputation here in this industry for the last 4 years with central payment credit card processing. I take pride in that a lot. I'm not going to dog my competitors that are out there, so to speak. A lot of these guys that are fly-by-nights, they come in, they come out, they bang, they get the quick buck, and they're greedy, and they get out. I don't go that extra mile. I like to do the best possible job and give them the best possible solution to their wants and needs.
Right. Now, do you, sometimes I know I get those crazy late night phone calls from
from
clients, and my phone's pretty much on 24/7 because, you may have emergencies in the family, that kind of thing. Do you get those kind of calls at crazy Christmas and, and New Year's Eve? And
I'm going to give you a quick story. I have a customer that works down at the Big Top Flea Market. His name is Dennis Ingalls. I provided him a solution because it's in a metal building, so I provided him a wireless terminal. He called me one day. It was on a Saturday. I was out shopping with my wife, and he called me one day, and he ran a couple transactions, but they didn't go through. And he's like, James, I got the receipts, but it didn't register through the computer. So, he called me. He's like, I went the extra mile. I said, you know what? Instead of having you go through all the options and, take up all the time on the phone, I'm going to come over and take care of it for you. He was worried that they were going to be double charged, things of that nature. I had it all rectified within a 24-hour time frame for him. So when Monday came around, the monies were into the account. It did register. We had it on the back end at our tech support system at Central Payment. And I get crazy calls, 6 o'clock in the morning. James, it's showing card error. Here's what we're going to do, Colleen. And I'm speaking of Colleen from B&B Pet Supply. She goes, James, what do I do? I said, okay, be patient with me. Unplug it, turn it off, turn it back on. It'll reboot itself. She ran the card. She goes, James, thank you so much. Sorry to bother you on a Sunday morning. Those are just some ways that I go the extra mile for my clients, and just not to put them off to an automated machine on a weekend, for that matter.
Right. Well, I think you're outstanding. I want to thank you for joining me. How can people get a hold of you?
They can get a hold of me. You can find me on Facebook at James Carner. You'll see my little face there. And also you can reach me at James Carner's Central Payment at 813-777-4332. And that's, again, James Carner, Central Payment at 813-777-4332. And thank you for having me, Missy.
You're very welcome. I'll have you back again.
No problem.
Stay with us. We'll be back in the show in just a moment.
Thank you very much. Central Payment, your #1 credit card merchant service provider in the industry. Providing e-commerce solutions, POS systems, standalone terminals, mobile apps, and much more, call Central Payments James Carner at 813-777-4332. Looking for the lowest rates in the industry and number one customer service? Call Central Payments James Carner at 813-777-4332. That's James Carner, 813-777-4332.
Are you looking for an affordable way to advertise to thousands of consumers nationally? If you own a business and didn't think you could afford radio advertising, you need to call me, Laurie Zoock, host of the nationally syndicated radio show, The World of Laurie Zoock. My show reaches thousands of people on 29 AM and FM stations nationwide, as well as through the internet. Additionally, your commercials will also be heard on all of my podcasts and throughout social media sites. Don't wait another minute. Call me at 813-777-4908. 813-777-4908, and let me bring your message to the nation and to help you gain more exposure.
Do you miss that old school sound that made radio great? Let me invite you to preview Philharmonic's Jack of All Trades at PhilharmonicBlues.com, a collection of Americana blues available as a download for $7.99. You can sample each track on the album page and try before you buy. Philharmonic, Jack of All Trades at PhilharmonicBlues.com. That's PhilharmonicBlues.com.
Early in the evening, right on through the morning dew.
And we are back in my world, the world of Laurie Zoock. And I've got with me today Kris Dunn from National Scouting Report. He's a scouting agent. Welcome to the show, Kris.
Hi, Laurie. How are you?
I'm good. I want you to share with me, Kris, your background and give me some company background because I think what you do is very interesting.
Sure. So I'm originally from Massachusetts. I grew up playing sports all my life. I moved down here to Florida. My athletic career at this point is over, being in my mid-30s. And I was looking at a way to stay involved in sports and also a way that I could use my coaching background as well. So I coached high school and youth athletics for 10 years, both baseball and basketball. And so I wanted to find a way where I could sort of use those skills. And what's great about Florida is that you can play sports year-round, whereas up in Massachusetts, you don't really have that luxury. And so I found National Scouting Report, and I was intrigued. I was interested. It is a scouting service that has been in operation since 1980, so looking at 36 years now. And I got in touch with the powers that be over there, and I made a couple calls. I flew out to Dallas for some training, and everything went great. And so now here I am. I scout high school athletes in the Florida area, mostly in the Tampa Bay area, and work with the kids and the families to help get them scholarship opportunities. And it seems really simple. It sounds really simple,
right? But
it's not. It's very confusing at times, and it can be very difficult and overwhelming.
Do you find that once you connect, say, with a coach at a high school, are there a lot of kids who maybe think they're better than they really are, and then you have to maybe let them down?
There are, and that's a great point. There are several kids. You run into kids all the time that, whether it's on their own or whether it's people around them, maybe it's parents, maybe it's friends, maybe it's other coaches, make them feel or lead them on to believe that they might be better than they actually are. And the worst part about that is a lot of times it leads to sort of unrealistic expectations, false hope, And the kids sort of take it as gospel a lot of times when you're looking at the information and the source that it's coming from. If it's a coach or a family member telling you this information, as a 15-year-old kid, 14-year-old kid, you tend to take that as gospel. And it's not just your talent. The thing that I have to stress here is that it's not just about how good you are. It's about how good you are in the classroom. Grades cannot be stated enough. It is super important that you focus on your grades, because when it comes to these scholarship opportunities, it's not all athletic scholarship. And to be honest with you, it's very difficult for a prospect, for a child, to get a complete full ride from an athletic scholarship. For the most part, the scholarship opportunities and the scholarship offers that these kids are receiving are a split. And more often than not, they are more academic than they are athletic.
Gotcha. So you want to not only you're looking for someone who's a superstar in sports, but also academically a superstar as well. That has the whole thing going on, really.
Correct. I mean, you have to have the grades. You have to have the work ethic, the structure at home. What's the family life like? So when I'm out scouting kids, I'm looking at the talent. First thing I'm looking at is, are they good enough? Can they play the position? Can they play the game? And then once I get past that, and I'm having conversations with family members, I'm asking them, what are his grades like? What are her grades like? Has she taken the SATs? Has she taken the ACTs? What year is she? Is she a freshman? Is she a sophomore? All of that information is critical when going through the recruiting process, because I have to be able to identify where we are and where the family is. Have they been given a lot of false information? And that's something that I'll touch on a little bit later. But a lot of times parents are given information that just simply isn't true. And for the most part, parents don't understand the actual recruiting process and how daunting it is and how confusing it can be and how overwhelming it is, not just on them, but especially on the kid. Again, we're talking about 14, 15, 16-year-old kids here going through this recruiting process, which is something that they've never really thought about, never really heard much about, and there's a lot going on. You only get one opportunity. I say this all the time. You only get one chance to be recruited, and it's critical that the kid and the families go about it the right way. And there is a process to all this. There is a recruiting process.
And it sounds like pressure. It sounds like pressure for the kids and the families, really.
Absolutely. There's pressure from the kids' perspective if there's other kids around, kids on the team, kids that they've seen succeed. There's pressure in the classroom, because now you're looking at, you have to keep your grades up. So there's added pressure there. There's pressure all the time, but it's good pressure because it's something that they have to work at. And the harder you work at it, the greater the payoff. And that's one thing that when I do sit down with families, I stress more than anything. I'm here as a coach. I'm here to guide you and mentor you and teach you everything that you need to know from start to finish. So it's the marathon. It's not a sprint. So let's get this thing started. Let's get the ball rolling. This is what we need to do. This is where you are, and this is where you want to be. And now I'm here to put some structure to this for you so that you know the steps to get from point A to point B, because right now you don't know those steps.
Right. And
you've been given or you've been given information and you think you know the steps, and it couldn't be further from the truth.
Right. So you're guiding them through the process and helping alleviate some of that pressure.
Correct. And the recruiting process, it's not elaborate. It's very confusing and it's lengthy, but there's not a lot to it. So basically, when you are an athlete and you're going through this recruiting process, there's a couple different steps to the process. The first thing you're going to have to do is enroll with the Eligibility Center. So any athlete, any student athlete that has a dream to play at the college level, regardless of the sport, has to enroll with the Eligibility Center. There's an NCAA Eligibility Center and there's an NAIA Eligibility Center.
Okay.
And in order to play in college, you have to enroll with the Eligibility Center. And basically all they do is check your amateur status, and they check your grades to make sure that you make the grade in order to compete at the NCAA or NAIA level. And that's typically something that families want to do as they enter their sophomore year. And that's right then and right there is where some information can be mistaken, because a lot of families don't know that. I've sat down with families of juniors in high school and didn't even know anything about the Eligibility Center. So you want to make sure that you enroll with the Eligibility Center, because, again, you can't participate in college athletics if you don't. And then once you do that, as far as the college coaches go, there's a four-step process. There's a four-step recruiting process. And the first step for coaches is identification and recognition. Now, it's pretty plain and simple. A college coach has to identify you as a prospect, has to recognize you as a prospect. And all this really means is that they're identifying you as a person, that you play their sport. So we're in baseball season right now. Let's just use baseball as an example.
Okay.
College baseball coach is looking, and I just simply identifying that John Smith, in fact, plays baseball, and this is some information. And that's really all that is. And a lot of times parents can overlook that. You know, when coaches are going through the identification process, they are, for the most part, sending out some questionnaires, sending out some flyers to the family, just to sort of get some information and make sure that, you know, they are in fact a baseball player and this is in fact the right person. It's nothing more than that.
Okay.
However, once you get past that, and that's great. Once you get past the identification phase, you go into the evaluation phase. And that's where college coaches will actually start to evaluate you. This is where a lot of the negative can come in. As a 15, 16, 17-year-old kid, there's going to be times where you have to deal with rejection. And this is the point where a lot of those kids, like you said earlier, who have been told all their life that they are amazing, they're the best player on the team, they're the best of the best, this is where a lot of those players swallow a very tough pill because they realize that, they grew up as the best player in their town or they grew up as the best player on their team, but now we're talking about playing at the next level. We're talking about playing in college, and these college coaches are now going through this evaluation phase, and for whatever reason, you don't fit. You don't meet their needs. And there's something that we refer to often as the box.
Okay.
College coaches, they have a box, right? There's this little box, and if you don't meet their needs, if you don't fit inside of their little box, then they're not interested. They're not going to recruit you. Whatever the box might be, it might be your size, it might be your skill, it might be your grades, it can be your test scores, whatever the case may be. If they have certain requirements and certain benchmarks to fit within this box and you don't reach those benchmarks, a lot of times it doesn't matter how good you are. You simply just aren't going to make the cut. You're not going to make the grade, and they're not going to recruit you.
Is it possible if you don't fit into one coach's box, so to speak, but you might fit into another's?
Yes, and that is amazing that you just said that, because that is exactly the way that it works. It's just because you don't fit into one coach's box does not mean you won't fit into another. And that can be passed down from sport to sport, you know, different sports. Look, if you want to play offensive line in college, if you want to play on college football and you want to play on the offensive line, you have to be a certain height and you have to be a certain weight. Otherwise, you're never going to play that position. Now, some sports are a little bit different, but for the most part, yes. If you don't fit within a box, there's different levels of play in college. Obviously, there's NCAA Division I, Division II, Division III, and a lot of times parents and family don't realize that. We only see on TV Division I. When we think of college baseball and we think of college football and soccer and volleyball, we think of Division I because that's what's on TV. So those are the big schools. In our area alone, you're talking Florida State, Florida, USF, Miami. Those are the big Division I schools. And just because you don't fit in that box does not mean that you cannot play baseball or football or soccer in college. In fact, a lot of Division II schools and Division III schools might be a better fit because remember, at the end of the day, it's all about the grades. You have to have the grades in order to even think about going to college.
Great.
And so
I'm going to ask you to hold
the schools.
Yeah, I'm going to ask you to hold your thought just for a second. We're going to do a quick commercial break. I want to still talk about this when we come back. Be right back.
Do you miss that old school sound that made radio great? Let me invite you to preview Philharmonic's Jack of All Trades at PhilharmonicBlues.com, a collection of Americana blues available as a download for $7.99. You can sample each track on the album page and try before you buy. Philharmonic, Jack of All Trades at PhilharmonicBlues.com. That's PhilharmonicBlues.com.
Early in the evening, right on through the morning dew.
Central Payment, your number one credit card merchant service provider in the industry. Providing e-commerce solutions, POS systems, standalone terminals, mobile apps, and much more. Call Central Payments James Carner at 813-777-4332. Looking for the lowest rates in the industry and number one customer service? Call Central Payments James Carner at 813-777-4332. That's James Carner, 813-777-4332.
Do you suffer from back, neck, or body pain? Do you suffer from migraines or have jaw or face pain? Has conventional medicine failed you? Were you injured or in an accident? Call chiropractic physician Dr. Dan Maddock at 813-935-1664. Dr. Dan has helped thousands of patients gain relief for more than 30 years. Dr. Dan is caring, gentle, and takes his time with each patient. He's also a past president of the International Craniopathic Society, a special certification of only 300 chiropractors worldwide. Dr. Dan helps patients from the neck up and the neck down. Dr. Dan accepts most insurance plans. Don't continue to live in pain. Call 813-935-1664 today. That's 813-935-1664 and get on track to better health.
And I'm back, Laurie Zoock here. And I've got Kris Dunn from National Scouting Report. And Kris, we were talking a little bit about the division schools, how when coaches have that box, and you were talking about the different divisions that kids might qualify. So I want you to kind of continue on that thought.
Sure. So, like we were talking about Division I athletics, that's what the majority of America understands to be college athletics. And so for baseball, again, using baseball as an example, if you are a pitcher and you are throwing above 90 miles an hour, chances are there's a good possibility that you are going to be able to play Division I college somewhere. That's sort of a benchmark. However, just because you don't throw 90 miles an hour, just because you don't throw 92 miles an hour, does not mean that you can't play college baseball. There is There are other schools, Division II, Division III, and a lot of times parents just don't get it. They have sort of tunnel vision, and they kind of operate under the influence of, my kid's going to play Division I, or he's not going to play at all.
And I'm going to jump in here for a moment, because you're making me think, those stories where, the kids are playing a baseball game and then, the fathers get into a fight. It in a way, it's almost like that, because the parents are so into it. They're almost more into it than the kids sometimes, right?
Yes.
More difficult to deal with.
They can be. And one of the worst things that can happen to a kid throughout the recruiting process is having that parent that sort of acts like their agent. They're very aggressive and just overall they're just aggressive in nature. And college coaches see that. College coaches recognize that, and college coaches can't stand it. The coaches they're not recruiting the parent. Okay, mom,
right.
Dad. There's one thing that you have to realize: it's not you that the university is looking to recruit. It's your kid. The coaches want to talk to the kids. They want to know that the kid is well-spoken. They want to know that he can handle the pressure. They want to know that he has great work ethic. They want to know that he's been focusing on this for 4 years now, 5 years now, 10 years now, that this is something that he's been dreaming about since he started playing baseball at 6 years old. Coaches want to talk to the kid, and they want to know that the kid has a good head on his shoulder. And if mom and dad are the ones lobbying all the time, doing everything, a lot of times it's a red flag, because now the coaches are looking at it as if, why are mom and dad doing all this? Why is the kid incapable? Is he immature? Can he not handle the stress? Can he not handle the pressure? Because if you can't handle the pressure of the recruiting process, then you certainly aren't going to be able to handle the pressure of performing at the collegiate level.
All right. Well, let me ask you a question on that. I mean, do you ever find situations where it's not so much the kid's dream, but it's the parents or the father's dream, like living through his child that way?
Yeah, that can happen. And so when I meet with the families, the first question that I'm going to ask is to the kid, on a scale of 1 to 10, how badly do you want to play in college? And for the most part, you're going to get a 10. I'm a 10. It's my dream. I've wanted to play all my life. But sometimes you don't. Sometimes you get a kid that says, well, I don't know, maybe like a 7, an 8, a 6.
Right.
And that's one of the first questions I ask for a reason, because if that's the case, then I want to know why. And
do you get to talk to the kid alone? I mean, do you get to talk to them alone aside from the parents to really talk to them?
For the most part,
Yeah.
I don't. If there's something that I really wanted to talk to just the kid about, I could. But I want mom and dad there. I want mom and dad to hear and understand everything that I'm saying. For the most part, when I meet with families, I'm talking in large part to the kid, because I'm getting as much information about them as I can. But I need mom and dad there, and I need them to understand everything that's going on, because it's going to be a lot of work on their child's part, but it's going to be a lot of work on their part, and it's going to be a lot of work on my part. So I need everybody to understand what exactly is going on through this process. And if little Johnny is only a 7 out of 10, he's not really sure that he even wants to play in college, then maybe it's not a good fit. Maybe this isn't something that we want to pursue, because if he's not positive, if there's any chance that between now and the time that you graduate, you think that you might not want to play anymore, then this isn't going to work, because there's a lot that's involved for the parent, there's a lot that's involved for the child, and there's a lot that's involved for us. And
Kris, do you find that during that initial interview that it's the parents that are living vicariously through the child, and do you at that point realize that they're the helicopter parents and that the child really just doesn't want to do this? And if you do, what is your move at that point without offending the family and the child?
Sometimes it happens. It doesn't happen. I haven't had it happen to me all that often. But but it can happen. And if that happens, I'm just not going to work with that. I'm not going to work with that kid. I'm not going to work with that family because it doesn't make sense. At the end of the day, I'm going to do everything that I possibly can. National Scouting Report, we're going to do everything that we can to get that kid an opportunity to play sports in college, anywhere, somewhere throughout the country. We're going to do everything we can to get that kid an opportunity to play college volleyball, soccer, baseball.
At what point do you find and get to weed out the dead wood? At what point do you have to say no?
If mom and dad, if the family structure isn't there, if it doesn't seem like it's supportive, then that's a red flag. If the child doesn't seem like they are uber enthusiastic, like this is what they've wanted their whole life, like the thought of playing is just so exciting to them, then at that point you sort of just assess the situation a little bit and say, okay, take a step back. Let's maybe reconvene in a couple months or something and see where we're at, because right now it just doesn't seem like this is a wise decision. It's a long road. There is a lot of work, and if mom and dad aren't supportive or aren't as supportive as they should be, and the child isn't 100% positive that it's his dream to play in college, then we're not going to go down this road. It doesn't make a lot of sense. I'm not going to work with just anyone. I'm going to work with the kid that has dreamed his whole life of playing college baseball, playing college basketball.
So you have to use you have to use your gut instinct a lot. I'm guessing on everything we're talking about. You can pretty much tell.
Absolutely, and you can. When I'm sitting down with the family, I can see the excitement on the kid. I can see the excitement in mom and dad. You can see all of that. So you just have to make sure that they have that excitement level. But we were talking earlier about the actual recruiting process,
right?
And there's a couple things in there that I want to make sure we get to. As far as once you are evaluated and coaches identify you and they like you and they like your skill, they're going to move you to the third phase of the recruiting process, which is comparison. And now this is where it gets kind of hectic. Coaches basically have a whiteboard where they will have a list of all the kids that they like, and they number them 1 through 10. Just like you would think. They number all these kids 1 through 10, and then they start comparing them. They start comparing their grades. They start comparing their skill set. They start comparing their test scores, their size, their height, their weight, whatever it is they start comparing. One thing that they really stress a lot that a lot of families and kids don't realize is they compare your social media. They compare your extracurricular stuff.
They're looking at everything. We got about 1 minute, Kris, to the end. So I'm going to ask you just quickly, I know they're going to compare everybody, but what's the last step? Because I also want you to I know you offer a free athletic evaluation, and I want you to be able to give your contact information. So.
Yeah, so once they compare and they still like you, then in the fourth stage is they're just going to make you an offer. Plain and simple. They'll make you an offer to play in college, which is that's the goal. If you have a child or you are a child that's interested in playing sports in college, reach out to me. My phone number is 413-218-9858. I'll come out and do a free evaluation, let you know what I think, full scouting report of the kid. My email address is kdunn, DUNN, at nsr-inc.com, and you can check out the website. It's nsr-inc.com to get a little bit more information there too. But certainly, if you want to play in college, give me a call and I'll come out and take a look and let you know what I think.
Great. Thanks so much for joining us, Kris. I found it to be very interesting, and I didn't know any of this before you talked about it. So thanks again.
Not a problem. Thanks, Laurie.
All right, great. Thanks for joining me, Laurie Zoock, on The World of Laurie Zoock, and we'll see you next week.